I hand over to Mr. Kenneth Bannerman to tell you a little bit about the memorial.
Thank you all very much, first of all, for attending. A tremendous turnout. We really greatly appreciate your attendance. I'm the founder and head of the Airfields of Britain Conservation Trust, or ABCT for short, which is essentially the world's first national airfield charity. And we're greatly honoured and delighted to be here to help unveil this memorial, along with landowner Mr. Barber and Dr. Faulkner of Sharp, the archaeological project. Quick history, the background to Sedgeford Airfield. It's a bit of a forgotten piece of history, this, sadly, but this is why it makes it all the more important to unveil these memorials. It first opened in 1915 as a Royal Naval Air Service night landing ground for fighters that were associated with the famous flying boat base at Great Yarmouth. Then in 1916, control switched to the Royal Flying Corps, and after that time, although there was still some fighter activity, Sedgeford primarily became a training airfield, either training squadrons based here or frontline squadrons working up for service on the Western Front. Come 1918, Sedgeford was also, among other things, seen as what was described as being a mobilisation station, with further activity, build-up of the RAF and the Western Front and so on. Towards the end of World War I, there was a more advanced flying training school that came here called Number 3 Fighting School, and this relocated from Bircham Newton nearby, which incidentally is generally thought to be Britain's best preserved disused airfield. So the end of World War I came in November 1918. There was still actually building going on at Sedgeford over the year, by the end of 1918, but then perhaps inevitably with the advent of peace, things began significantly running down. The opening and closing periods of Sedgeford, one has to say, are somewhat hazy, but what we do know is that certainly by the last day of 1919, the airfield had finally closed down when the cadre of Number 13 Squadron disbanded on New Year's Eve 1919. You can find records in newspapers of the day. For example, shortly before the airfield closed, the canvas hangars were up for sale here. Then eventually the land was sold. However, that wasn't just quite the end of the story by any means, because in World War II, Sedgeford, as with quite a number of ex-World War I real airfields, became a decoy airfield in World War II. Fascinating subject in itself. But essentially, Sedgeford was Bircham Newton's decoy airfield. There were dummy aircraft based here, as well as dummy landing lights. And the place served its purpose, because we do know that on one occasion there was an attack by Luftwaffe aircraft. So it served its purpose, and indeed among the few buildings that are left today, there were still a lot more in World War II, for example. You can, among other things, even see the decoy control bunker, as well as the officers' building just round the far side of the woods. So just architecturally, in archaeological terms, this alone is just a very, very important place, because there are not that many World War I airfields of a disused type even tangible at all. So this is one of the many things that ABCT does. We try and help save airfields and remember the airfields and the people who served at them through our memorials, website and what have you. And suffice to say, we are definitely making a real difference towards the advancement and betterment of society as a whole. We simply cannot afford to lose our airfields in all sorts of ways, not just militarily, or even historically, architecturally, so on, but also socially. And of course, just along the road from here, Bircham Newton. I mean, what an incredibly important place that is for every single one of us in the UK. So all we can just respectfully ask of you is that, within reason, just please remember our airfields and just do all you can for them, because it's helping all of us in society. It's as simple as that. And therefore, we're very honoured to help unveil what is now ABCT's 80th memorial. We're unveiling another one this afternoon at Little Snoring, and another one just over the border in Suffolk at Bungay tomorrow. So by the end of this year, we will have unveiled near on 200 memorials. So we're going as fast as we can this. But in this case, we're absolutely honoured and delighted, along with Mr. Barber and Dr. Faulkner, to unveil, just wherever you'd like to, just to unveil this memorial to this priceless piece of history, Sedgeford Airfield. Thank you all very much.